So our next step is to add some buttons that we can manipulate each one of these particular rows in our table here. We want to be able to delete one, or we want to update it, edit what's already here, or maybe just look at it in its own chart, okay, like on its own. We're going to cover deleting, because it's pretty quick, and the ability to view a particular one. We're going to make use of that last row ID return from inserting a new one as well to also forward directly to the view singular, and we're going to work on that now. So we're going to add some buttons to each one of these in order to manipulate them directly. Now we can actually do that in our base index where we're showing all of them. Right here, we're getting information per dog, so this would be the best place to do it. So we need to add a new header called actions. Okay, what that's going to allow, it's going to be an unpopulated area, but the idea is we would have our buttons in here. So why don't we do that? Inside here, we can do some more table data. Okay, we're going to want probably actually in one table data now that I think about it. And we're inside of here, we're going to want 3 buttons. Actually, let's do anchor tags just to make it simple. So here's 3 anchor tags. We're going to show, okay? We're going to edit, and we're going to delete. Okay, if I were to, there they go. So we're seeing show, edit, delete. Now they don't do anything yet, but we're going to decorate them now. So in our href, let's say we want to create a new HTML document where it'll show just one of these dogs and their own information, right? So we're going to want to create a new route, maybe show. Yeah, show should be perfect for that. Now we need to send an ID through as well. So how would we do that? Well, we actually have the current dog ID in this particular loop, right? Because we're getting a particular dog in the list. So it's a perfect place to do this. We can just use Jinja syntax. So we can do the same thing, dog ID, just like that. So we're actually sending it through just like that. So if I were to refresh, notice how these are blue. I have not accessed this link. Now, the ID is 1 for Biscuit. So if I hit show, notice at the top it says show/1. If I did it for Fido, which has 4, we get show/4. So that's perfect. We're sending through the ID of the particular row into the next link. So why don't we use that? Let's make this route over here. And I bet we can probably just do it under here. It makes sense. App.route. Oops, that's not what I wanted. We're going to do /show/ and then the syntax is integer because we're looking for an integer, colon, and then ID. And then we close it. That is the syntax. Now inside, we're going to define show, but we need to grab that ID. That ID needs to be sent through the URL into the function for us to use it. So inside of here is where we're going to show a particular dog. And we have actually already defined this function inside of here. It's called get1. It takes an ID as a parameter, and we've already processed it. So this is perfect. So all we would need to do is call dog.get1 and then pass the ID in itself, because we've already taken care of the dictionary part of it here. So this is all set up already. So this should be perfect. Now we do have to assign this to a particular variable. So we'll just call it dog because it's singular. And then we want to return a render template of the HTML file that we want to send through. Now we don't have one yet, so I'm just going to call it show.html. And then we need a second parameter in order to get the dog information. So we can do dog equals dog, just like that. It's like this, but it's singular. Okay, we defined it here. This is going to be the variable that goes into the HTML. This is what we have locally, in this case here, just like before. Let me format just to get some space here. Okay, now, since this function is already declared, we just have to make a template. So show.html, just like that. Okay, I'm going to move it over to HTML area. And what's neat is now that we have dog in here, we can work with the title. Show dog, and then we can do Jinja syntax, just like this. And we can do dog ID, because dog is what we're sending through here. So we can access its library or its dictionary keys directly like that. So showing dog, and then why don't we do the same thing here, and we'll do a test. Okay, because it's going to say showing dog and then the ID in both the title and the body, right? So we should see this work out if we were to hit show. So let's go back, refresh. Now I'm going to hit show on Cupcake, which has an ID of 3. We should see 3 up here as well as in the body. And we do. We're seeing 3 here. We're seeing 3 up here in the tab, and we're showing 3 here. That means we're getting the data. That's good. So we have the data in. All we have to do is display it now. So to display it, it's really simple. I can just do 3 paragraphs, right? 1, 2, 3, because we could probably do the ID as well. So let's do ID, and then we do Jinja syntax. Do the same thing we just did. Dog ID, not IS, ID. And then we'll do name, right? Because it has a name, dog, dname, okay? And then we have the breed, right? Just like before, we do dog, breed, and then we have age. And one more Jinja syntax of dog, age. Okay, now when we display any of these, we should now get all the information. So with Fido, we should see 4, Fido, lab, and then 6, because I think I did breed before age. And that's what we're getting. We're seeing ID of 4, the name is Fido, breed is a lab, and age is 6. So we're grabbing that data and now sending it through the route using the ID. Now, I'm probably going to get like a little header here. Let's do an H1 and say hello to, and then we'll just do the name. So dog dname, and then I'll do a little exclamation point after. So let's refresh, or we'll just go to George this time. Say hello to George, and then it gives the information. Okay, so we're sending that data through. This is perfect. Why don't we make a go back button, right? Because we have all the information, but we have no way to get back without hitting the arrows. So let's do another form. The action goes back to the root, just like that. We don't have to say post because it's not. We're going to do a button, and it's going to say go back. Or how about go home, right? So if I do this, and we refresh, we get a go home button. I click that, we reroute back here. So we can show any dog, hello to Biscuit, hello Biscuit, go home. We're back here again. Now, what if we add a new dog and we want to go home, right? Like, oh, I don't want to add it, but I have to go back. Well, we can add another button for that right here. So we can just go into create, and it says submit add a dog, but we can add another form underneath it and say, once again, go home. We just repeat the same idea. The only difference is, oh, I'm sorry, I messed that up. It's supposed to be a button. Go home. Now, we could make this type submit, right? Probably should. So even though it's not necessary because there's only one button, it's good habit to make sure that we know that this is a submit button. Just like that. Okay? So now we refresh. Here's go home. It's a little gross because it's outside of the form, so maybe we can add a little bit of create thing. So why don't we add the form itself? Actually, we shouldn't do the form. We should do the main form. So I'll do an ID over here. Main form. I know the namings here I'm doing are kind of lame, but just trying to get to the point. Main form, margin bottom of 10 pixels, just like before. And we get a little bit of spacing there. There we go. So we can go home, add a new dog. I don't want to add a new dog. Go home. Let me check out George. Hello, George. I want to go home. Let's check out Fido. Hello, Fido. Let's go home. Right? So that's perfect. Why don't we implement the delete feature as well? Seeing as we only have about 9 minutes of recording, I can definitely throw the delete feature. So the idea is the same, right? we want to go into the main index here and add information to the delete. So why don't we make a new route called delete? Now this is a post request, okay? Technically, but we don't have to specify it as a post request because we're not technically adding any data or grabbing information from a form. So we can send it right through an ID. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to send the dog ID, just like that, to this route. We're going to want to do it underneath here. Let's do app.route. And we're going to do /delete. And then we need the int ID, just like that. And underneath, we're going to define delete. We do need to grab that ID from the URL, so we're going to do that. And now we have to create the delete method. And what we can do is we can redirect to the root again, just like that. So let's create the delete method. This should be pretty easy, actually. We'll do an @class method. Def delete, right? We're going to take the class in, and then we're going to take an ID in. We don't need data. We just need the ID. And we're going to create that query. And we're going to do 6 dots just like before. Oops. Oh, we didn't do an equals. There we go. And underneath, if I can write right, here we go. We are going to create the delete statement necessary to make this work. I believe we would do delete, shoot from, and then dogs, right? Now we have to specify a where, ID equals. Okay, we're going to do another ID computed string, and that's where our ID is going to be sent through. Okay, the ID that comes in here is the one that goes into here. So, like before, we're going to want to return this statement. So I could probably just copy it. Okay, the only difference is we send in the query, but instead of it saying data, we do the ID thing we did before. So ID, colon, and then the ID we're actually sending through. What that's going to do is it's going to delete at that ID. We're sending that through as a dictionary because our query needs one. Okay, so delete from dogs where ID equals ID, coming from here. So up here now, we need to specify dog.delete, and then we're sending in that ID automatically. See that? So when this happens, we should just delete the one that we click. So everything's set up. Let's refresh. Delete is now a new link. So let's get rid of George. There he is. He's gone. If I hit refresh, he's no longer there. If I go into my database and rerun this query, we'll notice that ID2 is gone. George is no longer in our list. Let's create a new dog. Name it Tim, right? Tim is a big whiner, right? I'm stuck with breeds, I'm sorry. And his age is a 5, right? We're going to add him. There he is. So we have... So something that some people had confusion about when it comes to IDs is we don't fill in the blanks with IDs. IDs are associated as a new row is made. If one is deleted from past, the IDs don't change. The IDs are always going to be the same. So once ID2 is deleted, it's gone. Nothing will be assigned to ID2 in that table ever again. The auto increment will always be a new number. So just be aware of that. I hope that's given some insight on the idea of showing. Okay. And then we can delete. We could do another example. Goodbye, Fido. No more Fido. Okay. He's gone now. Show. Now, I guess we can add another route to this, right? Because we want to be able to delete in this screen as well. So how would we go about doing that? Well, here's the show, right? We have our go home button. Why don't we make another form? Right? But this one's going to go to our delete. So we're going to say delete and then / Jinja syntax. We already have this current dog ID, so we can do the same thing. Dog ID, right? And inside the form, we're going to add a button just like before with type of submit, and we'll just say delete. So now if I refresh this, we get a delete button. If I hit delete, okay, it's going to do the same thing and it's going to redirect us to the root. So if I go delete, it's gone. If I go to Tim, I show, delete Tim, Tim's gone, right? So now we have ways to delete from this menu as well. It's the same process. It's just a matter of grabbing that ID, right? So in the next video, we'll work on edit so that we can update. Right now it doesn't go anywhere, but we can update this information and not have to delete and make an entirely new entry.